Good Sunday morning to you all out there in YouTube land, and welcome to the Blind Tinkerer's Workshop once again. I got a very nice email from Brenden. Now, I've never corresponded with Brenden before, but from what I understand, he is John from Arkansas's mentor.
You know, this is the way I do it. The rest of you are still expected to do better.
We're gonna beat that John from Arkansas again.
Why don't you order some of those Arkansas potato spiders like last year?
So between one of those fellas out there, one of them has given Brenden my email, which I'm glad he did. And I got a very nice email from Brenden and says if I need any help to, he'd be glad to help me out. Yeah, I guess he watches my videos too. I do have a question for you, Brenden. And I posted this on the Antique Radio Forum, but I didn't get any real answers that really helped me out. So maybe here on YouTube we can do it. As you notice, I've got the S86 Hallicrafter on the bench here, once again. And I'm going to bring you up here with the camera so you can see what I'm doing. And I've got some schematic drawings that I printed out because I want to make a modification to this. And to my knowledge, I don't think anybody has ever thought of doing this. It's my idea, my gray matter idea, and sometimes they're wild ideas, sometimes they're good ideas. But I want to pass this to Brenden and see what he thought of it, and anybody else out there who's pretty well experienced with antique radios and things like this. As you know, this is a series string set. It uses a ballast, and I'm going to bring your camera over here in case Brenden has not seen the videos that I've made in the past on this radio here. So hang on just a second. Okay, now the Hallicrafter's S86 is a series string set. The Hallicrafter's S85 is a parallel wired set with a power transformer, which would normally go right here. Now, this set uses a ballast, which is right here, and I marked these on the chassis. And here is what's been happening. There's not enough light coming through for me to see the dial, even in the very dark room. When it first comes on, the lights are fairly bright for about 30 seconds or so, then they go down. Now, these are number 47 bulbs. They're 6.3 volt bulbs. So on the Antique Radio Forum, when I posted the original question, they said, well, check your filament voltages on your bulbs, which I did. And to my surprise, I'm not sure which one of these because I did it under the chassis, when it's running into about, I'd say 15, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. The filament voltage on one of these bulbs is 2.5 volts. It's supposed to be 6.3. The other one is 3.4 volts. So, although when you plug it in, which, here's my isolation transformer over here. Okay, see, they look good and bright. All right? And looking at the front, you'll see there's a little bit of, well, of course there's a lot of light here in the shop. There's a little light coming through here. But as it's on, it gets dimmer. Now, I had my meter on there. I put the Simpson 260 on there. I also used my Fluke 73. They're right on the money on both of them. And now it's just coming up. There's no antenna on this. This is all I got right here. Okay, now, let me turn this volume down. Right now, if I was to measure it, one would read 3.4 volts, the other would read 2.5 volts. Okay, so obviously there's not enough. When you look at them, it looks like, hey, that's probably normal. You know, I mean, I didn't even give that a thought. I thought, if anything, it would be having too much voltage on it because it's a series string. Well, anyways, this is the ballast. There's no cover to the ballast. That's the way I got it. It's kind of hazardous that way. I'd like to eliminate the ballast, but, you know, I can put a resistor in there. It's a 63 ohm resistor that's in series with the filament string. There's two 17 ohm taps. And I'm going to show you on the schematic right now. I'm using the SONY Bloggie, so I'm about 5 inches away. Hopefully it focuses. There's two ballasts there. The one on the right is for 220 volts. The one on the left is the one that came with the radio. It's 115 volt ballast, and I checked the resistors. The 17 ohms, see these two resistors right here, these two resistor taps? 17 ohms here, 17 ohms here. They read 18.5 on my meter, so okay, that's close enough. Then there's a 63 ohm resistor right here, right above my thumb, right there. Okay, that reads 68. Okay, my intention is to jump out the two 17 ohm resistors. Now, up here, if you look at it, each bulb goes across its own 17 ohm tap. Okay? My intention is to jump them out, leaving alone the 63 ohm resistor, because that's in series with the filament string here, and I label the tubes that are on there. And my intention is to do this. 6.3 volt filament transformer, which I'll have to get on eBay because I've got a 12.6 volt filament transformer. I could use that, but I'd have to go to number 57 bulbs, which I have. And simply, if you look at the wiring here, I'm running this radio on an isolation transformer anyways. The line comes in, one end of the line is grounded with the switch in the ground side, which I really don't like. But anyways, that's beside the point right now. I'm just taking a filament transformer, and I'm a terrible artist, and putting it on the other side of the switch, okay, and running the bulbs to two number 47s, which you see right here. And this was in the radio. There's no bulb in it. I'm simply going to take and run three number 47 bulbs in parallel, 1, 2, and 3, because this is the pilot light somebody put in here, so it's got a hole in there, I might as well use it. Running them off the 6.3 volt transformer and jumping out the 217 ohm taps on here. This is going to solve two problems in my book, and I wanted to pass this along to you, Brenden, to see what you thought of the idea. And I think it's a good idea, but I could be wrong. I could be all wet. But who knows? It's happened to me before. And I'll tell you why I wanted to do this, in addition to getting more light out of it. I can get full 6.3 volts on these bulbs. I'm almost certain I won't need to get LEDs, high-intensity LEDs to run, because I think I'm okay with that. This is pointed here because I wanted to push it closer to the grill. It's about an inch away from the dial. But I may not have to leave it that way. I can probably turn it around like this after I get more voltage on here. Now, what I did also under the chassis is I only tested one tube, the 6SK7 here. Between pins 2 and 7, supposed to be 6.3 volts. I'm only getting 5.9 volts. So in other words, these tubes here are not getting the full filament voltage. And there's 117 volts coming in on the line, so there's no problem there. So we're losing the full filament voltage. So if I jump out these two 17 ohm taps, do away with the pilot lights running off the ballast and the filament string, the ballast could still be used because we're using the 63 ohms. That's still going to be in series with the filaments. And therefore, the tubes won't, in other words, it'll still have a ballast. It just won't have the 217 ohm taps. So by taking out the 217 ohm taps, in effect, 3.5 volts and 2.5 volts, you add that up. I'm sorry, I have to do some paper and pencil work in order to add that up. You're getting a few volts more going into the filament string, and you may get about 6.3 volts on these tubes. It starts out at 6.3 volts, but then as it warms up, it drops down to 5.9. And like I say, I only tried the filament voltage on this 6-volt tube here. And of course, you got a 25Z6 here, and you got a 25L6 over here. And they're all in series. So what do you think of that idea, Brenden? I think it might do the job. It might solve my problem with the filament voltage being a little low and the pilot lights starving for filament. I mean, 6.3 volts. I got the room for the transformer, either right here or even underneath the chassis. I just got to get one on eBay, and I've been looking, and I can probably order a filament transformer on eBay without breaking the bank, I guess. Okay, and then my other question to you, Brenden. All right, we get the other schematic out. These are the tube listings here on the filament string. If you look all the way over to the right, V5, I believe that is a 686. They got a 10-watt resistor going across the filament. Now, this is in series. This is a series string. Why is that resistor across the filament of the 6H6? What is the purpose of that resistor? None of the other tubes, the 6-volt ones, have any resistors going across them. But yet, there is a 10-watt, and I think it's a 10 ohm. I'm not sure. My eyes are bad. I'm sorry. I have to get the magnifying glass out. But why is there a resistor going across the 6H6 filament? Here it is right here. And it gets pretty warm. Okay? Here is the... I almost hit the button on the camera here by mistake. Here is the base of the ballast tube right here. I think somebody put... I got the radio this way. This cord probably was replaced. And this black and red wire you can see here, and it goes up underneath here, and it's knotted right here, and it comes up through the chassis. That's the way it was. I guess that's the way the radio is made. So my intention is to pull all this out of here, and either way I'm going to disconnect it. I could put the transformer down here under the chassis. I just have to relocate my filter capacitors that I put here and put the transformer here with the 6.3 volts. I'll run all the bulbs in parallel, of course, and do away with running the pilot lights off the ballast. But use the ballast because it's still got a 6.3 ohm, 63 ohm resistor section in it that's going to be used for the filament string. Of course, I even thought of putting a power transformer in here and doing it, but that's a huge job, and the wires run close to the chassis, and I don't think I'd want to attempt that because then I would have to change out the 25 Z6 and the 25L6 and put all 6.3 volt tubes in here, and I don't think I'd want to do that. That's a monstrous job, and with my eyesight, I don't want to go digging into the filaments because all the filament wires are down close to the chassis. Okay, I turned the shop lights off. I just got one little light up on top. I'm going to turn the isolation transformer on, and I want you to look at the dial. This is the 47 that's closer to the dial. And this is the band spread over here. This is the indicator that was in here. And I want to utilize it and put 47 in here. So in other words, it'll have 3 number 47s running in parallel off the filament transformer. So I'm going to put the isolation transformer on now. See that? I can see that, okay? But as it goes on, see how it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer? And the camera looks bright, but I can just barely see that. And on the band spread, you can't see it at all. Now let me put the lights out and I'll show you. All right. You tell me, I can't see that. That's the main dial. This is the band spread. Isn't that something? So this is the way the radio was. It came this way, kind of the way the wires are sloppy, but they're long enough that I can tap into here on this pilot light that never got hooked up. And have the transformer. I might just mount the transformer here. All right. This is the transformer I recovered from my workshop, but it's a 12-volt transformer. It's all shielded. And I was going to use that and mount that right here, but maybe under the chassis. And but I would have to use number 57 bulbs in here. I don't think there's a problem except that they're round. They're auto bulbs, but they fit the socket. And I was going to mount that on the chassis or under the chassis, but I have to relocate my electrolytics. But other than that, I'd have to get one on eBay. Not a problem. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope maybe I can get a little hints in what you thought of this, Brenden, and also anyone else here. Chime in if you want to. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.